this idea of communitarianism is not the best for Africa in terms of ethics, in terms of what is right and what is wrong. That we should begin to talk about radical communitarianism and moderate communitarianism. In other words, Kwame Gyike made a distinction between radical communitarianism and moderate communitarianism. For him, radical communitarianism is the view that the rights of the community supersedes individual rights in whatever form. And this means that we cannot even be talking about human rights of any individual. That the radical communitarianism pushes the view that you have to think and act towards communal flourishing, not about individual flourishing, individual interests. No, every action must be geared towards the flourishing of the community. So Gyike now said that this kind of worldview would present Africa as a place where human rights, as a place where individualism is completely suppressed. So he now came up with his own idea of moderate communitarianism, where the individual rights and the communal rights will be at par. That is, you can still make some choices without thinking towards how the community will react to your actions and inaction. In other words, Gyike is saying that moderate communitarianism would allow individual autonomy, unlike what radical communitarianism would do to individual autonomy, which is the suppression of individual autonomy. Some African scholars criticized Gyike that his distinction between radical communitarianism and moderate communitarianism is just a distinction without a difference. That at the end of the day, the community supersedes the interests of the individual. How would you be pushing moderate communitarianism when your worldview is about vital forces, is about communal life? So which one should be placed ahead of the other? Is it your own rights or the rights of the community? Since you can only achieve your end, I hope you know that all human beings are living towards a particular end, towards a tello, that is moving towards an end. What is the end? What am I living for? Am I living for my own selfish end, or I'm living for the growth, for the end of the community, which is about the flourishing of my community? That is the African worldview. So the UK distinction did not say true, at least for today's scholarship in African philosophy, especially African ethics. Having established the worldview that informed Ubuntu, and having also said that Ubuntu is about philosophy of we, is about philosophy of respect, is about philosophy of collectivism, is a worldview that whenever you want to act, whenever you want to perform an action, you have to look at it from the perspective of the community, perspective of others, not from your own perspective, not from what benefits you. Unlike what you have in Western philosophy, where you can make a distinction between naive egoism and enlightened egoism. Naive egoism is an egoist who is always waiting, who is always ready to act as long as that action will benefit him or her immediately. So any action that a moral agent will not profit from, he or she will not perform that action. That is high level of selfishness. Whereas enlightened egoism is when a moral agent is performing an action, he or she knows that the action will still benefit her in the long run. But if you do not carefully study the action, you will not see the selfishness in that action. So if an African mind is not thinking towards this direction, if an African mind is always looking at the betterment, at the growth of the society, then we should be able to look at what African worldview has done for us here in the Caribbean. And that is why I'm bringing in Maroon community and Rastafarianism to this discussion. We have Maroon community in Jamaica and some other parts of the Caribbean. How did they survive up till this present time? Africans, it's no longer a breaking news or a news that Africans were forcefully brought to the Caribbean, or what I would call the New World. No, not what I would call, what has been called the New World. So the Maroon, the Maroon people decided to come together as a community, as a group, in order to fight against their oppressors, the colonial interlopers. I'm not in the spirit of calling them colonial master, because they mastered nothing other than wickedness, other than suppression of other human beings like them, and other than segregation. So the Maroon tapped into that worldview of Africa, the worldview of interrelatedness, interdependence. Because once we come together as a group, we will be stronger than an individual. So we can also connect that to Rastafarianism. If you look at the way of life of Rastafarians, you will see that communal sense in what they eat, in their way of life. You see that they believe in communalism rather than individualism. And this also can be connected to the concept of Pan-Africanism. If you understand, if we truly understand Pan-Africanism, is about the coming together of all the black people. And this is exactly what Ubuntu is talking about, that we should always think about others, not about I. Without we, the I will become an insignificant figure. And that takes me to this particular slide that I'm also interested in deeply. Why am I saying this? I've shown you the potency of Ubuntu, what Ubuntu can do for us, and I've also shown you how Ubuntu's philosophy, how African worldview, especially African ethics, has influenced the Maroon community in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, and also the religion and the movement that the movement that is called Rastafarianism. So African worldview has also influenced Rastafarianism. However, the Ubuntu that we are here to listen to, some scholars have argued that Ubuntu is already dead. That Ubuntu we are talking about is not applicable to the contemporary society. Why is this the case? Bernard Matolino and Wesley Klaus Quindingly, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name very well, they wrote a paper, an article titled The End of Ubuntu. The main argument there in the paper is that Ubuntu is a narrative of retrieval, narrative of going past, whereas the past we are talking about cannot be retrieved again. Ubuntu only worked in a minimal community, minimal society. Now that we have a secular society, a cosmopolitan society with different ethnic tribes, how would Ubuntu navigate all the conflicting interests? How can we now be talking about going back to Ubuntu when Ubuntu is no longer a viable society for our contemporary life? What brought about the article? There was a case in South Africa where a policeman treated a South African badly. So one of the politicians, one of the leaders in South Africa now went on air, public television, to say that the policeman lacked Ubuntu. That Ubuntu supposed to guide that policeman how to behave morally. And that now started the conversation that they should revive Ubuntu. That since Ubuntu saved South Africa against apartheid, because Ubuntu for South Africans is a philosophy of reaction, is a philosophy of confrontation, because they used Ubuntu values, Ubuntu ethics to challenge their oppressor. So it's a philosophy of decolonization. So when that conversation started, Bernard Motalino and Weklos Kuindigli said the Ubuntu they were talking about would never be retrieved completely. That in other words, Ubuntu is already gone. However, these scholars, I'm talking about Motalino and Kuindigli, they failed to realize that Ubuntu as an ethical philosophy rests on some core values such as humanity, caring, sharing, respect, and compassion. If I may ask anybody in the audience, is there a society that will not benefit from the concept of humanity, from the concept of caring, from the practice of sharing, and from respect and compassion? If all of these values are still very much relevant in our world today, why should these scholars be talking about the end of Ubuntu rather than the enforcement of Ubuntu? So we are all here this evening to talk about back to Ubuntu. What do you want to do with Ubuntu? We want to show that the communal life that is already eroding speedily in our world today in the Caribbean should be brought back. We should think more of communality, more of others rather than individuals. And that is why the call to back to Ubuntu is a clarion call. It's not just an ordinary call, because humans, we like what Aristotle said, without ethics, there is no difference between a human being and an animal. I'm talking about lower animal. Our actions and inactions will even be worse without sense of ethics, without sense of morality. So a call, now that we are talking about back to Ubuntu, I will say it is also synonymous to what Marcus Garvey, to what the Pan-Africanists were saying, that back to Africa. Let us go back to our original values, because without that our worldview, that our communal life, our identity will be lost. There are cases of identity crisis, not only in the Caribbean, we also have it in Africa. Why? Because we are not living according to the values of our ancestors. And that is the reason the call that we should go back to Ubuntu is not just a personal call, it is a collective call. And if we heed that call, our society will be better for it, because it is with others that we can only actualize ourselves. So on that note, because I know my time should have been up by now, but I want to thank the organizers for giving me that free hand to communicate the way I like. So in my conclusion, Ubuntu is a philosophy against selfishness, against greed, and unbridled individualism. If you are quick to anger, it means that Ubuntu is far away from you. If you see anger and you embrace compassion, it means you are practicing Ubuntu. Therefore, Ubuntu is philosophy of restoration of communal life. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rotimi. I believe everyone can relate to a lot of the things that Dr. Rotimi was sharing with us, right? We have a strong, or we used to have a strong sense of person in the community, and the sense of respect, the sense of the relation to our land, the sense of we respect each other not because of your title, but because of what you have, but because you are a person and I recognize you as that. This was so strong in our community that we had a saying, at least our parents had a saying, whatever I hear they ask, you the people or panya? With all respect, I said, this is the truth, because what defines us as a people is that what defines the others that are in the island also as people, right? So I would like to invite Ms. Dilia to share with us her experience in organizing the Raizal community in Bogota, but also, like, I would really love it if she could answer us in terms of what it is that makes us person, in this concept of, if we see Ubuntu as the philosophy of becoming person, of being person in a community, what it is that defines us as person. Ms. Dilia, as a sociologist, I believe she can guide us in this respect, but also tell us how it has been, how the experience has been to organize Raizal people in a new community, we could say, call it that, outside of the territory. Are you there, Ms. Dilia?
Good evening to everybody. Thank you, Andres. I was listening carefully to what the professor had to tell us, and that it looked like it brings me back to our ancestors. And I think in some way we had lived that. No, is not impossible, but I think it's very hard to go back to that, because we learn to be just an individual and just thinking on what is for me. No, so it's very interesting, and I think we have to study more deeply in this philosophy and this ethics of Africans or our ancestors. Well, I thank you very much to inviting me this evening to be here with you all in this important panel, and I hope that the experience that I am going to share with you all will be a contribution to the goal that all of us are looking for so far, the empowerment of the Raizal people. If you ask me about a magical or a formula or a recipe to express and to tell you our experience, I don't have it. But what I can share with you all is that when we take the decision to do something, to look at goal, we must have it very clear. We have to know what we are seeking for, what we are looking for. You know? And secondly, we have to have clear that we are not looking for our own individual interests, but the interest and the benefit for all. I think that is something that we want to recover, not thinking all the time on myself and what will be benefit for me, but what will be benefit for the whole community. So I think what the professor had told us is something that really we try to do up here, well, not deeply as the whole ethic of Africa and the Ubuntu, but we try to bring up and gather up our people in Bogota. It's not a easy work, because of the distance, because everyone is occupied or have other things to do. But I think when you have clear what you want to do, and I think we have it clear, what we want to do is we can get it. ORFA to me is and I want to explain and to correct something when you make the introduction. I am not the president of ORFA. I am one of the founder of the organization and member of the directive council, but the president of ORFA is Ms. Lisette Jaramillo Davis. Now I want to correct that and make you know and have it clear. And the next, coming on to what really have us here, to explain and to share with you all what we are doing and what we have done in these 20 years of ORFA in Bogota. First of all, I want to be clear and make all of us know that it's not one person work, no. And before that, we attempt two times before was to make our organization similar to this in Bogota for several years, but we failed. So this is the third attempt that we have, and I think as we don't get all the 100% of the goal that we are looking for, but we had advanced more, and in 20 years I think we have things to show and things to share with you all, and put this as an example that when you want to do something, you can do it. We working from 2004. We begin to work in this as get an invitation from the government to participate as an ethnic group in some activities that they were doing in Bogota on the government of Mr. Lucho Garzón. We know that from about 1920 we have presence in Bogota, but just as individual, not as a people like how we are in this moment. So we get invited in 2004 to participate in these activities that this government wanted to do to visualize the groups, the ethnic group that have presence in Bogota. So we were called there, and we had to the first step we had to do is try to organize and create an organization. So we begin to have meetings. We had a call of people that we know, and that was in other time was interested to organize in Bogota, and to the last we get a group of about 30 people to organize and to make for the third time try to make an organization in Bogota. We had a bylaws and all our and we can sign there as what we wanted to do, and basically to get together, to work together to defend our rights as an ethnic group, and also to preserve and recover and promote our culture. That was basically what we launched out when we begin in 2004. So after what we wanted to participate, they invite us to participate in some other activity, cultural activity. So we begin forming a dancing group, and we look up some students and young people and convince them to create a dancing group. No one did know much about it, so my sister, who is a medical doctor, but also she is very interested about the culture of our community. She liked to dance, so, and she belonged to a group in San Andres, so she formed the group with the children, with the students, and that was the first debut, we have to say. I don't know how to say it in Creole, but anyhow, we come out the first time as a group, a dancing group, and we had a very good acceptance what we wanted to do. So after that, we begin to show ourselves in different spaces, and during these 20 years, we're still working. We don't have everything that we wanted as yet, but I think we have many things to share with you all, because during these 20 years we do investigation, we participate in different activities, we talk about, and we have workshop about the language, about the cultures, investigation about Anansi, about the saying and phrase, and all that to build up the conscience of our youth, our children, because unfortunately some of them forget all these things, or they didn't know it because they didn't get that that background in school. So I think we work on that very constantly, and we have to show today all the result of all this. By our serious work, we begin to be accepted in the local government of Bogota, and accepted us as an ethnic group. But I think what we have to show today, and I think is an example for the rest of the community, is that we have a public policy in Bogota. The first one, we construct it and it be adopted by the local government in Bogota in 2011, and it was a program for 10 years. And after that, we make a new one that is functioning in this moment from 2024 until 2026. Apart from that, we have be recognized the Raizal Week, Emancipation Days, and different other activities that we have outing with the children, with the youth, and with the elder people for them to know and other things in Bogota, because the majority of them just come and go and study. But now we have the opportunity to go out and make some outing and go out and see and know other things in the whole environment of the district of Bogota. More or less, that is what we are doing now in this moment. From November, when we celebrate the 20 years of the organization, we get something that we was fighting for during these 20 years, and that is a house that the local government of Bogota sponsor us, and now we have a place that we can meet and receive people that want to go there. Our organization don't have no mixture or have anything to do with politics or politicians. The door is open for everyone, and everyone can come around who want to work and want to unite and look and seek the goal that we are seeking in all these years. So for that, in that part, we don't have much problem, because we make everyone know that the door are open for everyone. But if you is a politician or you belong into a politician group, well, you can belong into your group, but in ORFA we don't talk about politics. So I think that is one of the strength that we have, because we don't interfere in politics or with politicians, and not because we don't get offerings in several times. They call us and want to not from the islands but from here. They want us to join a politician or a politics group, but we don't accept that. So I think we keep up, and I think one of the strengths that we have is that we don't interfere with that with politics or politicians, and we say that we could get more things if we could join with someone, but we don't do it. So what we think is better is just slow but sure. So that's what more or less what we are doing in Bogota. And besides what we arrange and we agree with our public policy, we have 29 students and professionals that work in the different secretariats of the district of Bogota, and they are there to say about the welfare of our people. They are each one have the responsibility to following up what we agree in the public policy and what's supposed to be done. So these 29 professionals and students that is working in the different part of the district of Bogota, they know that they are there to represent us, to work in benefit of our people, and not only to say they have a job or they have a post. They know that they are there to comply with the responsibility of representing us and see how so far what they have promises have to be complied. We know that we help them also economically. They get a salary, but because we understand that empty sack can't stand up. So they get the salary, but they know what is their responsibility and what they're supposed to do in behalf of the strengthening of our group. So I think more or less that is what we are doing, and we have the door open for, as I said before, for anyone who wants to join us and to make more and make and seek for the goal that we are seeking to as what I said before, is to recover and strengthen our culture, unite us and get strength in Bogota as a community, build a community in Bogota, and also promote new leadership, because we know that some of us is getting old and we have to be replaced tomorrow, after tomorrow, the other one. So we don't want to sit down and what the Spaniard them say, atornillarnos on the chair. What we're doing is promoting new leadership, so that we will still go ahead with, and we have many years to get and to get the goal that we are seeking for so long. I don't know if you have a question or anything, and if we want to explain more or less, more further along, or anything you want to. That's what I would have to say in this moment. And yes, thank you for hearing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, Ms. Dilia. Indeed, I have a couple of questions for you, but I will try and complete the round, and then I will get right back to you. So here we have Ms. Shanelle, Ms. Shanelle. Shanelle is part of the ROOTS project, right? This is another organization, a youth organization outside of the island, just as similar to what ORFA has been doing, but in this case, it has a couple particularities. Talk to us about what is the ROOTS project, what are you doing, and what is your role in this project?
Before I talk about the ROOTS project, I want to little bit about this concept Ubuntu. And at least until now, we see it as something distant, and with the presentation we had earlier, it sounded like something with the far away Africa and something that we can't see in African community. And so, although with certain of the expression them when used, as is couple head both the shake and say,
we look at Mama said we no look white paper, but no white paper, and we put Pani said that no Vietnam that ROAK, because we understand say when they change your name, you don't know what part you stand up. So what we then construct with Henrietta go every Friday and read for them Pitnini, and read Creole, and read Spanish, and read English. We got one licky like not inconvenient. That is something what we have to work on, and say ROAK is the 90% of Raizals. I don't want that about who inherit what to Raizal and who inherit what to ROAK, but everybody know ROAK as the abyss section. So what we do is we start build history. What we do is say everybody come out any hours, any day, and then gather out them Pitnini with Miss Norris, because then that Miss Norris Pitnini. I only heard that today, but that Miss Norris Pitnini. And what we do that everybody give them version about how they used to build catboat, how they used to build we used to, and I said we because Mama said they used to do it, and Tianola they used to do it. They used to have one day where they used to make cancer. Everybody used to sing. So we they bring up things little by little, because well everybody that do other things, and everybody that try come with work, with the love for ROAK. So we had 2022 one Fear and Dance, big time thing, Fear and Dance, and we have with the Fear and Dance. ROAK is a small section, And I say small section because in space is small. But we had like a, Mama said the road raised people. Why? Because they used to go road, left it in them. No, Sol come and left it in the left it in them. Sol do even know if I the home, but they put in the raise in at the yard and everybody pending and they put in the road. So we have a lot of Raizal, Lift, Cocal, Cliff, Santana, Pandy Hill, round the ROAK, Europe, everywhere where when I talk about ROAK, they know what is ROAK because they raise wrong ROAK. Even Spaniard, at least we had Theonides house. They used to raise picnic in the house. Boila used to raise picnic too. So we got a lot of people. We know then the architect, then the engineer, and they had string their ROAK. So last year we met like one banquet for them picnic novenas. Miss Marlene got 30 years and met novenas. Miss Marlene. We come in 2 years now, but it's for Miss Marlene novenas as I tell them because well, plenty of ways not Catholic, but just because Miss Marlene got 30 years to do it, everybody have to go read for that with Maria. So what we do is last year we met like one banquet for them picnic, but ROAK no got Junta de Acción Comunal. ROAK is not a foundation. ROAK is only people that work for ROAK. So what we do, everybody come up together, then bring gift for them picnic. One person gives a hamburger, another one give this, another one give this, another thing, and we make the banquet for them picnic. What happened last year? The people in picnic were raised up. ROAK is who gonna win every year. So last year we had over 120 picnic. Figgy give. So Miss Marlene, when they run mad, Miss Marlene can hardly walk and let go the walkies. They can start walk fan down the bottom up with that because we never know where we want to get the gift them from. So what is Ubuntu ROAK? As I tell you from the first, one liquid wood can't make fireside. You need the difference them for Ubuntu can go on. What I mean to say? We need unity, not for unify people. We have a land to disagree for Ubuntu can continue to go on. Because we believe say, because we disagree, we can't get unity. And that is not the issue. If we learn to disagree, if I know say, I know like Andres Steele, but him no like my blows, we have to learn to disagree if we can go ahead and for at least ROAK can come out ahead. And it's the same thing for the community. We have to understand, say, you can get 3 racks, we put fireside, we put the pot pan, but the pot can look like it level, but if you look pan, you go to the lean on one side. Because the 3 racks are not the same thing. And the same thing when you go to the bush and you go look wood. They might look same, but they're not same. But when you put all the wood them together, you got the fireside. You get to cook whatever you got to cook. So that the same thing I mean for today. The only thing that humble we is the only 2 things that humble we is one is what we they say. All day we they hala say no because the land gone, because the land is okay, because the land one thing and because the land another thing. If we continue to repeat that, we won't believe it. And the second thing is say we have to learn to disagree. We good for agree. When we love the pastor and we love it, we got good things to say. When we love the leader and we love it, we got good things to say. But when Andres not like my pastor and I don't like for him, they're the war settled. And we don't have to agree. We only have to learn to live in a unity. And it means that all we have to think the same, or have to go to the same church, or belong to the same community. I don't care if we don't want to go ROAK, we can go, but we don't got no space. So that no means we can't work together. We just have to learn to disagree. And I believe that is what they done away with Ubuntu. And all the Ubuntu what we want got. That is what, and we can't share because if Shanelle think different from me, if her color red and mine are white or either yellow and she the green, I just don't want to see. And we have to stop the foolishness.
Thank you. We're short with time, so I'm going to ask each and everyone to answer the next question very briefly. And there is a question for each and everyone. With Leandra, I would like to ask her, look, I believe the 3 of y'all that are working with Raizal organizations have mentioned the importance of dancing, right? I would like to ask Leandra, what is it that, or what is your strategy like? What in your personal work? What you think it is that that build cohesion within the community? How you get to that? How you get back to that unity? How you get back to that to the people needing or being conscious of the need to come back together? For Shanelle, I would like to ask her, is it easier to organize Raizal people outside of the island? Do you feel like that is the case? and if that is so, why do you think, like personally, why do you think that is going on? For Miss Dilia, are you there, Miss Dilia? You did mention that 2 other organizations were in Bogota before ORFA. What did ORFA do different figure out the impact that it has had through these 20 years. Not every organization can say they survive over 20 years and with the impact that it has had in Bogota. Today, ORFA is recognized all over the city by Raizal and non-Raizals. So what did ORFA do differently? And finally, for Professor, we all know that, well, in San Andres we have two big challenges. I believe this is something that you can find over the Caribbean. Within San Andres, we have the challenge of unifying the will of Raizal people. We have had autonomous political movements in the islands. Indeed, we have one of our leaders here today. And this has been a real challenge for us. From the 80s, we have been talking about the necessity of autonomy, of becoming, of returning to this consciousness of being one people with one purpose. Well, I don't know if that is the correct term, but we have been looking for the way to unify the will of the people. And we don't know if that is possible. The other big challenge we have is through this last government precisely right now we have three ambassadors from Colombia that are Raizals that are in the Caribbean communities in Guyana, in Trinidad, in Jamaica right now. And indeed we have we have a fourth one where it is Barbados. And the challenge in this sense is to reunite to the Caribbean community, right? Because in our particular situation, Professor, we have been looking to the Andes Mountains because there is where the central government is, and we had a strong process of cultural shock. I don't know how to say it in Spanish, in English. And where we suffered a very strong acculturation process, where our maternal language, our mother tongue was deleted practically from schools. English is in danger if it's not disappearing. Well, y'all can see the difficulties that I have to communicate in my own mother tongue. That is because of the educational system. So we have these two big challenges within the community. We need to unify as a people. In looking on the bigger community of the region, we want to reconnect to the greater Caribbean. And the point to the question is, we know that identity is a big part of the consciousness needed to unify the people as one within the sense of community. And memory, our past, is a big part of our identity also. So the question here is, sorry for going around so much, the question is, how can we build educational programs that reinforce this sense of community, not only within the Raizal community, but also to reconnect us to the Caribbean? I don't know who wants to answer first. Miss Dilia, maybe? You remember what was the question, Miss Dilia?
Yes, you say why this process, as far as we concern success and the two before, because I think it was different time. We wasn't completely conscious of what we wanted. We had a little, I think, individual interest might be we could find. In the second attempt, I will talk about that one, is because, well, we was planning to have the backup from the departmental government, or say our government on the islands, and we didn't get it. So we failed on that part. And this one, well, we try to look it again, but we don't get it there, but we still be constant and working. And we get the backup from the local government in Bogota. I believe that is the difference, and the constantly activities that we set up, because it's every week or every month we have and we keep people having interest and having something to do. What I wanted to complete also is that education is one of the strength for us to come back and to strengthen our culture and our community. we had an experience with in San Andres, building some guides for teachers and parents and children that is 6 volumes, six set of books to guides for education, because we believe that education have to be on the base of reality. And in years back, we had more, and we used to say in San Andres we don't have analphabetism, or we had a very low percentage. Well, now in this moment it's not the same, but we still have a high level of a number of students and schools. But when we have to make a reflection and see what we're really teaching our children, no, because that's what I tell you briefly. When we begin this group, no one did know about the dancing of San Andres, because they didn't get it in school, they didn't get it in the neighborhood, because all the process of Colombianizing us hit down and make we forget all this background of culture that we had. So we had to begin again to teach them and to explain to them what all these things signify, is representing for us and strengthening our culture. So when we build up these guides that name Raizal Heritage, is 6 books that give all the insight about our history, our culture, and our environment, and it's supposed to be as a resolution they took out in the Gobernación in San Andres, that it's supposed to be teaching all the schools them as an obligation, but up to now, not all the schools them is doing it, and I think that is something that we need to recover the base of what we was and what all our the process of history and culture to have strength and to really have an education that shows what is the reality and what we really want. We have to teach our children about history, about the culture, about the territory, about the sea, and what the sea is to us, and what it signifies to us, and all those things that I think we have to promote, and to be the people and the government must come together and make that come true. For instance, we want to. I'll give an example. In Bogota, we have a book that we work here with the Secretary of Education in Bogota. It named Raizales, una etnia por conocer. It translates something like an ethnic group that have to be known, and that is in all the schools them in Bogota. All the public schools them in Bogota know about that book, and we have space. Our organization have space in all these in all the school them to go and talk about our culture and who we are. And in San Andres, in many of the school them, they don't talk anything about it. So I think it's something that we have to really recover, and that is one of the aim that we have in our organization, is for us to build conscious to our youth and build self-pride, make we appreciate what we was and what we want to be. I think more or less is what we want and what we are doing up here in Bogota. We have an experience that many people that was here in Bogota for many years. No, because as was said before, from 1920 we have news that islanders and Raizal people was in Bogota, but you don't see them. No, and this process and this movement that we have in Bogota bring out all these people, and plenty of them today is part of the organization in Bogota. We call them Raizales en el contexto de ciudad, because some of them don't even know San Andres and Providence, but the parents or the grandparents was from the islands, and they come in, and they are part of the organization, and they know and they see the background of where they come from and what is their history. So them is things that I think we have to appreciate, and we have to and we have to come back and make the children them and the parents acknowledge that is necessary for us to. That is the way for us to be strong and to recover all what we was before. I don't know if because in San Andres it's very sad that that up to now in some schools in San Andres and in the Secretary of Education, you don't have a group of people that working towards to make the following up what is going on with Raizal heritage in the schools then. Yes. Because the material is there and you have the tools also, because you have law and you have resolution and you have decree talking about how education must be on a Raizal territory, and our territory is a Raizal territory, so our education should be based on our culture, on our history, and our environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Amy. Thank you. Is it easier to organize Raizal people outside of the territory, or why?
Well, it's not easier. It's not easy at all. I believe we face the same struggle as in the territory to find a way to bring up people. But again, I just want to emphasize one of the things I was saying in particular in my intervention earlier, and I say what we learn in a free process, that say when time you make the people and feel like without for them participation, the activities and can go through then start feel a sense of belonging. So, well, of course, if that one dancing group, again, for example, since you're not talk about dancing, well, if the dancer don't go, then who want dance? So, well, of course, you want to start feel like you belong to something. And if the dancing group big, because you decide to make one big choreography, then people will start putting in their mind and say, well, then put any out there and then perform so good, I want to be part of that too. So that way for me a strategy to find a way for at least the young people then where that way for we focus the Raizal young people in the city of Medellin will find the sense to be part of the ROOTS project and the ROOTS project activities. So to the long run that will permit we be so active in the different campuses in the city. We had all them the basketball tournament we had as far as 3, and well recently we got the this Raizal encounter Casa Providencia that was last year.
The cohesion maintain, it have to be by needs. If you want to continue born, you have to keep near the fire. You can't come for it. When we want out fireside, you haul out the wood feet out. That's so. So the same thing happen with we. If we want our cultural practices continue there from one generation to another one, we have to keep with that culture there. We have to keep with that people there. We have to understand, say, if Andres not there, if Irma not there, if Miss Emiliana not here, we don't want to know about culture because the liquid piece where he got figgy, the liquid piece where she got figgy, the liquid piece where he can get, the liquid version where Miss Emiliana got, the one where Mr. Sass got, that is what one continue and one keep it together. So we need one another for culture can continue.
Thank you very much, Ms. Leandra. Professor Rotimi, are you there?
Yes, about how Ubuntu can help us to organize conflicting interests in terms of autonomy as well as education. So as I presented Ubuntu to you, it's a philosophy of virtue. It's more of character of the person. So what type of values are we pushing out? Is it a value or values that promotes individual interest or values that promote collective interest? A society is as good as the values that drive the society. So if you really want to talk about autonomy, when we have different interests, when we are in a secular or multicultural society, what we need to do is to see how Ubuntu can help us to integrate all the collective interests. And how is this possible? It's where we embrace the values of Ubuntu. the value of respect, the value of care, the value of cooperation, the value of equality, justice. All of these are present in Ubuntu. If we call ourselves, or let me offer for an example, if I say I'm a Christian, am I really living according to Christian tenets? Christianity to me is a worldview. Ubuntu is also a worldview. But the difference between Ubuntu and Christianity is that Ubuntu is not religious. It's about morality. And there is no way a religion can even thrive without morality. So what I'm saying in essence is that Ubuntu is a philosophy of cohesion, especially if we appreciate division of labor. If we also believe in integrative pluralism. We can have a society of divergent interests, but there must be something that each of the interests believe in, which is the stability and sustenance of the society. And this is what Ubuntu can offer us. Ubuntu is there for us to exploit. Ubuntu is there to guide our education. I spoke about Ubuntu as also a philosophy of identity. You just need to key into the values of Ubuntu, and we will see that all the divergent interests, all the personal interests will be subsumed under the collective interest. If I don't see myself as superior to you, if I don't see my own tribe or my own ethnic group or my own nationality as superior to your own nationality, if you all come together to believe that in unity we can achieve greatness, then we will begin to see the potency and the efficacy of Ubuntu in our everyday experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotimi. Thank you very much. We have time for half a question. we want probably to participate. If you don't have a question or comments on the topic, I would ask you to be as brief as possible. I don't know if there is a question in the public. Okay, so okay.
Good evening. I just have a doubt considering our history here in San Andres and Providence, and is related to the Ubuntu, but considering which is the core leader issue of the Ubuntu, because once in my childhood was like the spirit of the people, then like the guideline was the churches, but today Ubuntu is guided by what? Who is deciding what to do in certain moments using the Ubuntu, and how Ubuntu can keep people united, because people have new perspective and we have new ingredients like politics, we have economic interests. So how does it survive in African territories, and how can we learn of it and have a clear vision of how can we continue doing it here in our archipelago? Thank you. Professor, yes.
Okay, thank you. I think I will start with the part of the question that says whether Ubuntu is even surviving in Africa. So if it's not surviving there, why am I exporting it? Yeah. I would say that Africa or the Africa before colonialism is not the Africa that we have today. However, there is something that is still very unique about African society, irrespective of the influence of colonialism. That is the sense of togetherness. I don't know whether you are familiar with the social party in Nigeria. If I have a party to organize, my family members you will just see that I'm spending money, that the party is elaborate. But you will be thinking that all my money, I put it into the party in order to show off. That is not the way it is structured in Nigeria, especially the Yoruba people. To organize if I have naming ceremony, you will just discover that members of my family, they will contribute money, those that will bring food, those that will even support me to get venue and all of that. You will see, without even telling them, that sense of togetherness, that sense of cooperation, that sense of familyhood is still very much there, despite the influence of colonialism or even post-colonialism. What I'm saying in essence is that we must push the values that we believe strongly in to our national life. What type of values do we really have here in Caribbean? Is it the value of our colonial interlopers, oppressors, or the value of our ancestors in Africa? So Ubuntu is just like telling us what we used to be before the influence, before the intersection of Western culture. Who were the Africans? What is our uniqueness? So it is this uniqueness that I'm pushing forward again. There are our worldview, I spoke about vital force. That concept of vital force is very strong. We believe that we are not existing in isolation. Once we push this value, this outlook, the worldview forward in all we do, the policy makers, they have to think more about people rather than themselves. If you really want to organize or promote a particular project in a country, the focus should be how would this benefit people to the extent that I will be happy I'm the one executing this policy. Not that how would this policy benefit me, or the way I spoke about naive egoism and enlightened egoism. These two theories of Western culture, you will see it, that the two theories are there to promote individualism. But our ethical principles, especially Ubuntu, Jama, Ukama, Omoluabi, they are there to promote communal cohesion, communal flourishing. And there is no way a society can continue to grow if children are not taught. They are not really they are not made to understand the core values of the society. What are we teaching our children today? Are we really teaching them the value of our ancestors or the value of our oppressors? So this is the perspective in which I would want us to look at how Ubuntu can help us to bring about better society here in the Caribbean. Because any society is built on a philosophy. And if the philosophy is not right, you will see it that society will be retrogressing instead of progressing. I think that is how I'm going to answer the question. And if my answer is not satisfactory, no, I think it can be a conversation after this engagement.
Thank you very much, Professor Rotimi. We are about to close. We thank you for your presence here today. We invite you to the next chat. We will be informing you in time when is the next conversation we will have. The aim, I believe we are all coming up from here with a better understanding of Ubuntu. The aim of these conversations is not to reach any specific conclusions, but an invitation to continue thinking and rethinking ourselves as a community, as a people, and facing the commemoration of emancipation that is coming up next. That is a big question. I close here, but yeah, we have to think ourselves about what are we emancipating. Yeah. Thank you very much for your presence once more, and I'll see you next time.